I rate this 10 people that shouldn't have shaved their dreads off out of 10. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Camerascore where we discuss all things media. And today we are back on that music. R&B meets punk meets guitar instrumentation of different kinds. Q is back, the soul king as I like to call him because he hits so soulful for someone so very young. We have his new album called Do You See Me? And honestly, this album is a straight up banger. It kind of harkens back to what Steve Lacy attempted with his last album, even though it's had some success, but way better in my opinion. And I hate to compare artists, but I can't help but point out the similarities here. We've got 15 songs, let's get right into it. So we start off with the first three: Silly Boy, My Favorite Lover Girl, and Hey There, which has in parentheses, I have a compulsive complex. Some of the songs, which we'll get into a little bit later, have hilarious titles, but they're all great. He comes right out the gate swinging with Silly Boy, which is one of my favorite songs on the entire album. This thing has a dance, thriller, soul vibe that just jumps back and forth perfectly throughout a lot of these songs. And that's kind of how he starts off in this first song, Silly Boy. He has amazing vocals, stretching his voice, showing you his range. Also with this cool background bass line that almost harkens to either the end or the beginning of a classic film. My Favorite Lover Girl leans into that 80s background dance theme, and I think it's executed perfectly here. Again, there's so many similarities to what Steve Lacy did, but just tweaked in ways that make this so much better. And then the vocals are just so amazing. He can truly sing. And then with Hey There, a little bit more of that crazy bass line, but showing how he can almost rap sing. And you'll see that a lot more in other songs in this album that are also some of my favorites. He can almost create this. Leon Thomas, Frank Ocean have done it before, where he's going from singing to this almost melodic rap style, still in keeping with the key and tones that he was singing in before, and I love it. Then we get to the next three: I Wish You Were Here, Deja Vu Darling, and Drive Me Off the Wall. With I Wish You Were Here, he taps into the true R&B vibes, a late night banger, a song with true feelings, and it kind of goes into the album cover. The album cover is him bald. Now he used to have dreads. A little sad he cut it off. But he's staring at himself in the mirror, reflecting quite literally and also metaphorically on himself, the things he thinks, and the relationships with other people. This one gets into that relationship with other people. I wish you were here. Then we get into Deja Vu, Darling. A little bit more of talking about that life and love. But this one has a switch up that I was not expecting. A reggae rhythm type switch up for the mandem, for the boy, for the for the youth them. That is just such a welcome change. And again, we've been seeing this. Masego had a little bit of that in his album, with even Buju Banton being featured. But here, I just love the way it's done. It's a switch up that hits so perfectly with this song that's still a little bit R&B, but at the same time gets you hyped and dancing in your room by yourself. Up next, we have Drive Me Off the Wall with Q and someone named Deb Never. Never heard of them. I don't know if that's a play on the name or not, but they did a great job. And this one has another mix up that I love. All the switches in I don't know if you want to say beats or just music in general hit so well in this album. This one goes from your traditional R&B to a jazz scat at the end, kind of riffing on both his emotions and riffing in general as people are known to do in jazz. It is such a cool combination that flows together so perfectly. Again, he's 6 for 6 so far. Does he keep it up? So up next we have Keep Our Clothes On, I Built a Brick Patio, and Two Things. So now we have another set of songs. How does he start this one? Keep Our Clothes On. So the thing about this one is it's not necessarily a breakup song. It's just letting the other individual know that maybe we should keep our clothes on, and this really isn't going to work out in the way that you'd hoped. And it's very interesting take because a lot of times on these reflective albums, they bounce back and forth between longing for the person and then realizing that they're not the best for them. So this exact song, Keep Our Clothes On, is a very interesting way to say it can't be that type of relationship and it can't go to that level. It's not going to work. And it's almost funny just because of The bounce from I wish you were here to keep our clothes on is like a crazy slight to the, I don't know if it's a guy or girl, but the supposed love interest in this story that he's telling. This time we go to I Built a Brick Patio, which kind of goes into the Frank Ocean vibe slash Gambino, which is crazy because I hear a lot of that voice throughout most of this album. A lot of these songs, I'm like, yo, is that Gambino singing? And that's not an insult. That is a pure compliment. But this one is essentially talking about the relationship and what was built up and how it was utterly a waste. Not necessarily a waste. I don't think every failed relationship is a waste. But how he feels like he wasted all this effort, this energy, this time, a brick patio. Now, I know it's a metaphor for something. Maybe I'm just not intelligent enough to figure out what that is. But you guys can let me know in the comments. Up next, we get into Two Things with Q and someone named Marco McInnes. Don't know who this person is either, but he's chosen amazing features. This one is another R&B slow sample song that just hits so hard. And the vocal lines, the chorus, amazing work. The way the track cuts out and lets you hear those true vocals from him being able to sing beautifully is amazing. This is another one of my favorite songs. Up next, we get into Do You See Me? Parentheses, listen. How do you process everything? And boy. Now, Do You See Me is another one where he just delivers on everything from the piano intro to his verse to the rap singing that I was talking about earlier. The major Frank Ocean, Childish Gambino vibes. And I love every second of it. This song has been on repeat, repeat, repeat in my playlist for days. Highly recommend this one, even if you skip the whole album, which you shouldn't. Listen to this one. So for How Do You Process Everything, it starts off with a more catchy, upbeat vibe, but switches back and forth between that and how he processes everything being talked about and giving you a more somber note. I think this song bounces back and forth in a perfect way because a lot of times when there's these tonal shifts and these production shifts, the song is hard to listen to all the way through. It's paced perfectly well to give you both sides of what he's talking about in terms of processing things, while still loving the production and the vocal delivery. With Boy, he really gets into that more upbeat 80s synth, maybe even 90s a little bit too, with how we kind of had some of those classic tracks held at the end of movies or just in general as summer anthems. This one is a really fun one. It still has sadness mixed in within it. Obviously, R&B albums always have those notes of love, sadness, and sometimes hope, but this one is a lot more upbeat and delivers well on that front. Then we get into the last three, the first of which, hilarious title. We have Stop Goonin', Die for Life, and Two Shots. Now, where to even begin on a song called Stop Gooning? A very important and poignant message delivered in an upbeat tone. Again, crazy title, but the ending of this song and the way it shifts into great production with the instrumentation used is really, really cool. You know, a song called Stop Gooning happens to be nice, really cool message. And it ends on almost a house dance vibe that I think you can really party to. Now, again, anyone in that party that hears you play Stop Gooning, I don't know if they'll necessarily let you keep the aux, but it is a great song. Die for Life, he makes another R&B shift again. This one is really cool. It has Umi on it, artist I know for the first time in this album. Not to say they didn't all do great performances, but this one switches back to an R&B, but more of a slow Die for Life is almost reminiscent of the Don't Be Dumb, Stay Here for Life kind of vibes, where it's essentially referencing how much they care about this person and how that feeling they get now that they're gone, or maybe that they're still thinking about them in a way that even if they're here, they still have that longing for them. This album doesn't necessarily let you know whether it's someone he lost, someone he's with, or someone he's just thinking about. So I think it does fit within that theme of being for them for life and maybe even death being what it feels like without them. And he ends it all with Two Shots, another amazing song. It starts off with a little bit more of that rap singing, but then ends on that classic R&B. The bass line is great. The drums are amazing. This is what it's like to have true R&B beat production. For example, a song like Slow Down, a classic melody, amazing vocals, but a bass that just hits. People need to get back to R&B with bass. I know we have that classic, 808 kind of feel now, but we need true drum breaks and hits akin to the things in this album to come back into the mainstream. I don't know if it's the Chris Brownification of all these R&B songs with that same-ish 808, but we need to get back to real classic R&B bass lines with amazing beats. Q absolutely delivers on this album. I rate this 10 people that shouldn't have shaved their dreads off out of 10. 10 R&B vinyls scalped out of 10. 10 vinyls in general scalped out of 10. But you guys let me know what you thought about this album. What else should I listen to and what have you been listening to? And I'll see you guys on the next one.